Now, by contrast, bad managers invest capital outside a company's moat, which lowers overall returns on capital. This process is called deworsification, or setting fire to large piles of cash. Okay? This is basically what you don't want to see a company doing. Example, Cisco moving into consumer markets, the Netgear acquisition, I think it was. What on earth was that? You had this gorgeous, sticky business in enterprise, and you start selling consumer electronics that any moron just buys off the shelf at Circuit City? I mean, my set-top box at home used to be a Cisco, and I would just curse that thing every time I looked at it. Because it was just the worst business to go into. I mean, just fast product cycles, no competitive advantage. The whole network-centric home, so what? Remember Garmin? Anybody remember the Nuvi handset? Nobody? Okay, so Garmin had this great franchise, partially in GPS devices in the car, but also a much better franchise in avionics. So your business jets, regional jets often have Garmin as the GPS device in there. You own a plane, you really want to know where you are. So that business this was a very good, sticky business. And so they see, oh gosh, GPS is going from a product to a feature. That's basically just a feature of a smartphone. Oh, let's not relax to the inevitable and just get out of the business. Let's double down and go into handsets and compete with Ericsson and Nokia. Completely moronic. And so again, you see investing outside the moat. You see a business do that out of weakness as opposed to out of strength when they're trying to maintain growth like Cisco did. It's a horrible sign. Yep, question.
How do you differentiate that from being innovative, like Google, for example?
Great question. No, I knew this was coming. So the question is, how do you differentiate that from being innovative? Because Google's doing it out of strength, right? Google's not doing it to preserve growth or because their core business is dying. Google's doing it as a way of planting seeds for hopefully a great business in the future. And that means a subtle difference, but it's coming out. The key thing is it's coming out of strength. Google's core business isn't going down. It's when you see a company's core business either slowing or the competitive advantage eroding, and they try to basically invest outside that to bump up growth. So, Cisco, one of the reasons they went into consumer electronics, Netgear, was to compensate for the fact that the enterprise market was slowing down. Or you can just say, hey guys, we'll grow at 6% and not 16 anymore. That would have been the more rational response. Instead, they go out and take a blowtorch to giant piles of cash by buying. Remember the Flip? $800 million on this, basically a little video camera that will about 6 months later be in your phone. I mean, again, out of weakness versus out of strength. Yep, another question.
How much of this kind of stupidity is correlated to the fact that these businesses that are sometimes wide moats are not run by owner-operators? You would imagine if you have an owner-operator, he would not.
Yeah. So the question is sort of how much of this stupidity is correlated to businesses that aren't run by owner-operators. I think it's a good. John Chambers owned a decent chunk of Cisco, but I do think you see it less frequently with owner-operator businesses. You see it more frequently with businesses run by hired hands, where if the CEO leaves, he'll get a giant golden parachute, and he goes off and plays golf, and nobody's the worse off except the poor saps who owned the stock. So I think by having an owner-operator, you lessen this chance, but they're not infallible. I mean, the danger is when you have businesses that can't relax to change. And especially it's when you see this a lot actually with tech companies. No, not just tech companies, but companies when they mature. So this happened to McDonald's, it happened to Home Depot, happened to Starbucks, happened to Cisco, happened to Microsoft. As they get larger and have to go from being growth companies to being mature companies, they start continuing to act like teenagers when they're actually in their 50s. I mean, it's like the 50-year-old guy who's trying to date a 20-year-old. It's just inappropriate. And it's the same thing when you're a super successful business like Starbucks, when they just kept opening new stores. I remember there was a great Onion story once. Starbucks opened Starbucks in Starbucks bathroom, because they were just everywhere, right? And Howard Schultz came back and realized that the return on capital for these new stores was really not very high. And so the better way to allocate capital was not open crap loads of new stores. It was slow openings and focus on making more money, increasing ticket sizes, introducing food and so forth at existing stores. So, I mean, many businesses go through this transition.